Alright, today we're talking about Limbus Company. I started playing this game about 4 days ago, and so far I've been enjoying it quite a lot. The story is very interesting, the characters have also been really interesting, and well designed on top of that. And then the combat itself has also been very intriguing and complex. Like, even now, I still feel like I don't truly understand the combat all the way, and they added more to it when I was playing it last night, so music is also very interesting and very enjoyable. Like, the music for this part right here, I was vibing to it. I didn't even care it was downloading, I was busy just listening to the music. Voices are only in JP, so I'm gonna say that right off the bat, so in case you're someone who only plays games with like an English dub in it, that's not this game. So if that's not your cup of tea, you can go ahead and stick around or just scatter and use your time on something else. And then the gacha, at least for me, I felt very lucky, because like I got 3-star characters, which I'm assuming is like the max level, unless somehow some way they add like another level that I'm not aware of. I doubt it, because that doesn't seem like the type of thing this game would do. But and on top of that, the animations and like introductions for like when you get the 3-star character are absolutely gorgeous. Like, the whole gacha animation itself is very gorgeous. I absolutely love it. I think it's better than even Wuthering Waves. The only thing Wuthering Waves has a beat on is like when you get like a 5-star. Anyway, so let's start off with the story and the aspects of the story that I enjoy. For one, the very beginning of the story. Oh yeah, heads up, spoilers. I'm gonna be honest, I'm just gonna kind of spoil it, so once again, if you wanna get out of here and play it for yourself, please go ahead, but this is your only warning. Alright. So, story. It first gets you with your character basically being like, well, okay. Basically, you're just like thrown right into the story, confused onto what is going on. You have no idea, your character itself has no idea, you know, nothing like that. So you're just thrown in there, no clue what's going on, and you're basically relying on context clues to figure out what's going on for the most part. And then as you're kind of going through it, they start slowly explaining things to you. And even now, I still feel like there's still things that haven't been explained yet, which once again, I've only played like 4 hours of this. Like, I'm still very early into the game. And they get you with like, oh, your character has like a clock head. You can only talk in like ticks. Apparently you have some sort of information that's like very important, and you don't know what it is because you don't remember, and these people think that you know. And then after like you have these people who are talking to you and you're starting to understand the situation that your character's in and stuff, you go straight into battle. And when you're in this battle, right, they're also trying to teach you how to fight. So you're thinking, oh, it's gonna be like any other game where, you know, the first battle you always win, right? Wrong. In this one, you get to the end of the battle with all your characters dead. And I want to assume that it's on purpose and not I just suck so bad at games somehow that I died. But I'm just gonna assume it's on purpose. If I'm wrong, please let me know. But they instantly like kill you off and be like, oh, well, you know, of course you're not gonna be able to defeat everything like that on your first try. You barely know what's going on. And I was like, wow, a game that's kind of self-aware about the fact of basically the trope where it's like, oh yeah, you're the hero, so you just instantly understand everything and instantly know what you're doing. Which is great that they kind of changed it up from that typical sort of thing. Like, even Wuthering Waves, you don't really lose. Or at least I didn't lose my first battle. I don't know if you can, but I'm pretty sure you can't. So I like that they don't really baby you, and instantly you feel the weight of your actions. And the way they tell the story is also interesting, because you'll go from basically like 2-3 PNGs, you know, talking back and forth with like maybe a little bit of shaking and whatnot, and different lighting, and then they'll like out of nowhere come out with like different, like, I guess you'd call them drawings, to like show something. Like early in this one here, they'll like show your characters reviving, because apparently you're able to revive only specifically the sinners. And early on they tell you that only the sinners that like you command can be revived. Anyone else that dies in this story is dead. And then for you to revive your sinners, you're also going through like an immense amount of pain, which also adds another layer, because it's like, oh, how much pain can your character go through to revive these characters before maybe they can't no more? And it's things like that where it's like they took the time to make the story interesting and add that sort of suspense to it, compared to like literally any HoYoverse game where it's like, oh, none of my characters are gonna die, and if they do, they'll just come back to life, or oh, if they do, they're just gonna end up blind or something. Jocho. It's different from like what I'm used to, and I'm like, wow, this game actually has stakes at hand and stuff. And on top of that, during the story, there's like this little section here where they actually kind of give you a little bit of background information for like each of the sinners slash, you know, characters that you're gonna be going through the story with for the foreseeable future, which I like. Anyway, enough gushing about the story. Character designs. I personally really like the character designs. Even though like most of them are wearing, you know, the same similar outfits because of the fact that they're all part of the same group, they do wear like similar outfits. However, the actual characters themselves, like from their hair, their bodies, their, I guess, variation of the outfit too is interesting, because it also kind of tells you about their personality and stuff without you truly knowing them yet. Anyway, next thing I want to talk about. Combat. Combat is very interesting. Like, I knew it was gonna be like a turn-based combat. I knew that coming in because, you know, I seen someone else talking about it and about how they enjoyed it, so I was like, alright, let me hop on and try it myself. And so going in, I already knew the combat was gonna be like a turn-based combat. I wasn't expecting it to be sort of not Candy Crush, but like, I don't know, it's the beginning part of the combat when they start explaining it to you is you're basically like matching colors, and the more colors you match, like the stronger the attacks. However, the colors are random, sort of like, you know, any sort of like Connect 3 game. The only other difference is that certain combat attacks, like there's slashes and those type of attacks, and then you also have like your elemental color attacks. So you have to use those two things to get an advantage over your enemy. So it's already a lot more thinking than any HoYoverse game. And then on top of that, you also have to focus on your character's sanity and their stamina and their health to make sure they survive. And then, later on in the game, they also add another part of it to where, like, enemies have, like, a sort of, like, shield thing above their head that you also have to attack. So instead of you just, like, dragging the colors to match, now you gotta pick the specific attack and drag it above the enemy's head. Make sure that attack has more power than the enemy. That way you can actually, you know, do something to the enemy. And already, like, that's me barely touching the surface of the combat. That's me, like, simplifying it to, like, oblivion. And already, it's already pretty complicated. And once again, I'm only like 4 hours into this game, so it's entirely possible that there's like more layers to this combat that I am completely unaware of. And on top of that, they also add another mode later on in the game. Well, not even that later on, it's like still within like the first chapter, where you're kind of going through like a dungeon almost. It's kind of like simulated universe if I were to compare it to like something in a HoYoverse game, where you know you have like your attack domains and stuff like that. Except for each one is like either an attack domain or like a domain where you can heal your allies. And then there's like the boss domain. I've only played like one full thing of that, but it was already interesting. And then like when I got to the boss had like special mechanics to it as well. And unlike Star Rail, where, you know, it's just this domain, because it's linked to the story, you have storytelling in between, like, each time you go through the domain. Anyway, it's all super complicated, but once again, I'm trying to simplify it as much as possible. I'll have, you know, the graphics up above as well to try and help with understanding it. But once again, I just highly recommend you try it out. Give it like an hour, maybe 2 hours, and decide whether or not you like it. Anyway, besides the combat, music. I already talked a little bit about how much I enjoyed the music, but not only is like the music for when like, you know, you're downloading the game itself very enjoyable, the music from when you're battling to like when you get into like the focus mode where you're trying to plan out your attacks and how it like kind of fades into the background, and now you're like in this like almost sort of like headspace. Like it feels like you're kind of focused in on the combat now. And then when you go back out and like you're done making your decision, the music goes back and then the cinematics are back and your characters are moving and doing damage and stuff. Which is another thing I enjoy about this game, is like the actual animations for the combat are really intriguing to watch. Like, I'm still not bored of like watching the characters fight off enemies and stuff, because they're like actually moving around the battlefield. So rather than like Star Rail, for example, where your character is kind of just standing there and, you know, the enemies there and they just like leap towards each other to do damage. Like, your characters and enemies are actually like moving around the battle area. So like, your character could start off in like the left-hand part of your screen and end up in like the right part of your screen, or like the enemy can end up from like the right part of the screen all the way to the left. And it's like that sort of like combat and imagery is so interesting, especially when you look at like any HoYoverse game, or honestly any turn-based game, because I don't think there's another game out there to where it's so dynamic like that. Like, I could be wrong, because I don't play many turn-based games. Like, I played basically Persona, Honkai Star Rail, and I played, what's the other one? Fire Emblem. I played, like, that one, but, like, the turn-based gacha game. And, like, you know, none of them have as dynamic of a combat as this, nor as complicated. Even Persona's combat isn't that complicated. So this game was like a breath of fresh air. Like, you can truly tell it's more of a story/combat game compared to like a gacha game. Like, I'll be honest, I forget the gacha's there. I forgot it was there for a while. And then when I went to pull, I got like super lucky and got, you know, a bunch of, well, not a bunch, but I got a couple of actually high rarity characters. Honestly, my only complaint is, once again, I'm still early in the game, so maybe there is a way to do this, but the only way I found for you to level up your characters is to actually use them in combat. Once again, this could just be because I'm like early in the game, so maybe there's another way to do it and I just haven't like reached it yet. Other than that, there's not really any complaints. And then as long as you have like them characters in the background, like your whole team levels up together. So like the 12 sinners that you have, they all level up together, at least in the beginning stages. So you don't really have to worry about like, oh, if I use like these 5 characters and don't use these ones, then these ones aren't going to be used and they're going to be under leveled, so when I need them I can't use them. No. And then on top of that, you don't need the higher rarity ones, at least as far as I'm, you know, as far as I am in the game, the higher rarity ones aren't needed. You know, compared to like Star where it's like, oh yeah, better pull my 5-star character, otherwise I can't complete anything. Anyway. Basically, as like an overall conclusion, the story is great. I highly recommend you actually spend the time and like read through the story. You can skip it, but you know, I just highly recommend you actually read through it because it's actually good. 2, combat is very engaging and complex. Like, I'm pretty sure there's probably plenty of guides out there, or at least some guide out there to help you understand the story. Understand the combat. And 3, I don't know, just play the game. That's all I can say. Just play the game, try it out. If you hate it, you can always just delete it. It's a free to play game. So there's nothing to lose really, except for like maybe some of your time. And like some of your storage space. Other than that, you know, there's nothing to lose from it, and only things you can gain. Cause who knows, this might be your new favorite game to play since Honkai Star Rail and pretty much KIHOW as an entire company has basically sucked. And they still suck, so might as well play something new from another company that's actually taking the time to care about their game. Anyway, that's all for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Like, comment, and subscribe.